On the night of the Harvest Moon ceremony, when every wolf in the Silverwood pack would shift and run together, Arya Blackwood stood alone in her father's office, watching through the window as her family howled without her, because the one time she'd tried to shift, her wolf had been as silent and broken as her voice. The sound she couldn't hear vibrated through the glass. Arya pressed her palm against the cold pane, feeling the reverberations of 100 wolves celebrating under the blood-orange moon. She'd felt that pull once, 3 years ago on her 16th birthday. The desperate need to change, to join them, to finally belong. Her wolf had stirred. She'd felt bones beginning to shift, skin starting to ripple. And then, nothing. Like a door slamming shut. Her wolf had retreated so deep inside that Arya sometimes wondered if she'd imagined it entirely. She turned away from the window. The office smelled like her father, pine and dominance and disappointment. His desk was immaculate, everything in its place. Unlike her, Alpha Marcus Blackwood had 3 children. Damien, 18, golden and strong, already showing the leadership the pack craved. Celeste, 17, beautiful enough that visiting wolves would stare and stumble over their own feet. And Arya, 19. Deaf. Broken. Invisible. The oldest child who would never be heir to anything. Arya ran her fingers along the spines of the books lining the office shelves. At least the library gave her purpose. She'd organized every volume, created new cataloging systems, even restored damaged texts. No one noticed. No one cared. The library was where the pack stored things they wanted to forget. She fit right in. A flash of movement caught her eye. Through the window, she saw wolves streaming back toward the pack house. The ceremony was ending early. Arya's stomach tightened. Nothing good came from interrupted traditions. She hurried downstairs, staying close to the walls. The great hall was filling with bodies, wolves shifting back to human form, pulling on clothes, voices rising. Arya felt the vibrations of angry shouts through the floorboards. Her father stood on the raised platform, commanding attention without effort. Damien was beside him, chest puffed out. Celeste preened in the front row, surrounded by admirers. No one looked for Arya. She found her usual spot in the far corner, partially hidden by a support beam. From here, she could read lips, catch the gist of pack business without being noticed. Marcus raised his hand. Silence fell. She saw mouths closing, bodies turning to face him. His expression was cold satisfaction. Tonight, we strengthen our future, he said, each word careful and slow enough for her to follow. The Blood Moon Pack has agreed to an alliance. In 1 month, Damien will marry their Alpha's daughter, Serena. Shock rippled through the crowd. Arranged marriages were old custom, rarely practiced anymore. Damien's face went pale, then red, but he nodded obediently. Celeste looked furious, probably because the attention wasn't on her. Arya felt nothing. This was pack business. Pack future. Nothing to do with her. Then chaos exploded. The eastern windows shattered inward. Wolves poured through, rogues, she realized, seeing their matted fur and wild eyes. They moved with the desperate violence of those who had nothing to lose. The great hall erupted into motion. Wolves shifted mid-stride, clothes tearing. Humans scattered, screaming. The rogues were outnumbered, but they'd chosen their moment perfectly. Most of the pack warriors were exhausted from the ceremony. Arya pressed against the wall, trying to stay out of the way. Her eyes found her father automatically, looking for leadership, for orders. What she saw froze her blood. Marcus was looking directly at a group of younger pack members cornered near the collapsed western wall. 3 rogues were closing in on them. The young wolves were signing frantically to each other. They were deaf too, the small group that sometimes acknowledged Arya with awkward nods. Pack outcasts like her. Her father saw them. She watched his eyes track the rogues, calculate the danger. Then he deliberately turned away, shouting orders that sent the main fighting force in the opposite direction. He was leaving them to die. Arya's hands moved without thought, signing desperately at anyone who might see danger. Help them. Please. No one looked at her. They never did. She tried to run forward, to physically grab someone's attention, but bodies slammed into her. She went down hard, and suddenly she was on the floor being trampled, unable to hear the warnings of incoming feet. Panic clawed at her throat. Then the world went dark. Not from unconsciousness, from shadow. A massive shape leaped over her, so close she felt the heat of its body. The largest wolf she'd ever seen, pitch black with eyes like molten silver. It moved like violence made flesh, every motion precise and lethal. The wolf tore through the rogues heading for the Death Pack members. It was beautiful and terrifying, protecting them with single-minded focus. When the rogues tried to flee, it let them go, more interested in standing guard until pack warriors finally noticed and rushed to help. Arya pulled herself up, breathless. The black wolf turned, and their eyes met. The world stopped. Everything went silent, truly silent, not the muffled absence she lived with but a crystalline moment of absolute stillness. Then something inside her chest snapped into place with such force she gasped. Heat and recognition and belonging flooded through her. Mate. The word echoed in a part of her she'd thought was dead. Her wolf, silent for years, suddenly stirred. Not breaking free, but aware. Watching. Waiting. The black wolf's eyes widened. It had felt it too, she saw the recognition, the shock. For one perfect moment, someone saw her. Really saw her. Then it turned and ran, disappearing through the broken windows into the forest beyond. After it. Marcus roared. Don't let that rogue escape. Rogue? But the wolf had saved pack members. Had fought with them, not against them. Arya tried to sign this, but no one was watching. They never watched. The pack warriors shifted and gave chase, but she knew they wouldn't catch it. That wolf moved like smoke and shadows. It was already gone. As quickly as it started, the fight ended. The rogues retreated or were captured. Pack members started taking stock of injuries, of damage. Arya was shaking, her chest still burning where the mate bond had snapped into place. She had a mate. And he'd vanished. She stumbled outside, needing air, needing space to think. The pack grounds were destroyed, broken windows, trampled earth, blood on the grass. She walked toward the tree line, following some instinct she didn't understand. Near the edge of the forest, something caught her eye. A scrap of dark fabric caught on a low branch, torn from clothing or a cloak. She picked it up carefully. The material was fine quality, and embroidered in one corner was a symbol she didn't recognize, a crescent moon pierced by a sword. Not a Silverwood symbol. Not blood moon either. Something else entirely. Then she saw the marks in the dirt. Fresh, deliberately made. Her breath caught. Someone had scratched words into the earth using sign language symbols, the hand shapes drawn with claw tips. 3 words that made her heart stop. I see you. Arya looked up at the dark forest. Somewhere out there, her mate was watching. A wolf her pack called Rogue, who'd saved pack members her own father had abandoned. A wolf who'd taken the time to learn sign language, who'd left her a message in the only language she truly owned. A wolf who saw her when no one else did. She clutched the fabric, feeling the mate bond pulse warm and alive in her chest. For 19 years, she'd been invisible. Forgotten. Silent. Not anymore. Something was coming. Something that would shatter the careful lies her pack lived within. And somehow, she was at the center of it. Arya Blackwood, the Alpha's unwanted daughter, finally had someone's full attention. The question was, what would it cost her to keep it? Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 2. Arya didn't sleep. She lay in her small bedroom, tucked in the least desirable corner of the pack house, naturally, and traced the embroidered symbol on the torn fabric over and over. The crescent moon and sword felt significant, like a secret waiting to be unlocked. I see you. Those 3 words had rewritten everything she thought she knew about her place in the world. Somewhere out there, her mate was watching. Waiting. The bond hummed constantly now, a golden thread connecting her to something just beyond reach. By morning, exhaustion made her clumsy. She dropped a stack of books twice while reshelving them in the library. Her hands shook. Her wolf, silent for so long, kept stirring restlessly, like it was trying to wake up from a long sleep. She was sliding a historical text back into place when vibrations rumbled through the floor. Heavy footsteps. Many of them. Arya moved to the library's entrance and peered down the main corridor. Her father stood at the pack house entrance with Damien, both dressed formally. Behind them, pack warriors lined the hallway in ceremonial formation. Something important was happening. Through the open doors, Arya saw vehicles arriving. Expensive ones. Black SUVs with tinted windows, moving in careful formation. The Blood Moon Pack delegation. Her stomach dropped. The alliance negotiations. With everything that had happened last night, she'd forgotten. She should go back to the library. This wasn't for her. Pack business never was. But something made her stay. Maybe the restlessness of her wolf. Maybe the memory of her father's cold calculation as he'd let pack members die. Maybe just the desperate hope that the mate bond would lead her somewhere that mattered. The vehicles stopped. Doors opened. Blood Moon wolves emerged. She could tell by their aggressive postures, the way they marked territory with their eyes even in human form. They were larger than Silverwood wolves, darker-haired, radiating barely controlled violence. The man who stepped out first made Arya's breath catch. He was tall and commanding, with the particular arrogance that came from absolute power. Alpha Darius Blood Moon. She'd seen his picture before. Handsome in a cruel way, dark hair perfectly styled, expensive suit fitted to show off his warrior's build. Behind him came his daughter Serena, Damien's future wife. Beautiful and cold, examining the Silverwood pack house like she was calculating its worth. Then the last vehicle's door opened. Arya's heart stopped. The man who emerged moved like he expected an attack at any moment. He was massive, taller than Darius, broader through the shoulders, built like violence was his first language. But it was the scars that made people step back. They covered every visible inch of skin. His face, his neck, his hands. Some looked like claw marks. Others like silver burns. One particularly vicious scar ran from his temple down to his jaw, pulling the corner of his mouth into a permanent half-snarl. He wore all black, and he moved with the fluid precision she recognized instantly. The Black Wolf. Her mate. The bond flared so hot she had to grip the doorframe to stay upright. She felt him freeze, his head turning sharply toward the pack house. Toward her. Their eyes met across the distance. Those silver eyes. Molten and intense, and seeing her with such focus that the rest of the world disappeared. Riker, Alpha Darius said sharply. Arya could read his lips easily from here. Remember your place. Riker's jaw tightened. He dropped his gaze, falling into position behind his brother. But not before she saw the flash of rage in his expression. The delegations met formally. Arya watched her father embrace Darius with false warmth. Watched Damien try not to look horrified as Serena examined him like livestock. Watched Celeste pout because she wasn't the center of attention. And watched Riker stand apart, a banished criminal allowed back only at his alpha's command. No one shook his hand. No one met his eyes. The Blood Moon wolves treated him like a dangerous dog on a short leash. The Silverwood wolves looked at him like he might attack at any moment. Only Arya saw the way his hands moved at his sides. Restless. Deliberate. He was signing. Her heart hammered as she focused on the movements. They were so subtle that anyone not fluent in sign language would miss them completely. Where are you? She stepped back into the shadows, pulse racing. He was looking for her. Her mate was looking for her. The delegations moved inside. Arya retreated to the library, mind spinning. Riker Blood Moon. She'd heard whispers about him over the years, the dangerous older brother who'd been banished for crimes no one would specify. Some said he'd killed pack members. Others said he'd challenged his brother for the alpha position and lost. Everyone agreed he was violent, unstable, a wolf who couldn't be trusted. But he'd saved lives last night. Had learned sign language. Had left her a message that meant he saw her as more than the invisible, broken girl everyone else did. She needed answers. Arya spent the day researching, pulling every book that mentioned the Blood Moon Pack. The history was violent. They were warriors, conquerors, wolves who believed strength was the only law that mattered. 10 years ago, when Riker was in line to be Alpha, something had happened. The records were vague, contradictory. He'd been banished, and his younger brother Darius had taken power. By evening, her eyes burned from reading. She was reshelving books when she felt it, that pull, magnetic and undeniable. He was close. Arya's hands stilled on the shelf. She turned slowly. Riker stood in the library doorway, filling the frame completely. Up close, the scars were even more brutal. Silver burns, the kind that never fully healed on werewolves, covered his arms. Claw marks raked across his chest, visible through the open collar of his black shirt. His face looked like someone had deliberately tried to destroy it. But his eyes. God, his eyes were beautiful. Silver and intense and fixed on her like she was the only thing in the world worth seeing. He moved his hands before speaking, a courtesy that made her throat tight. "Can you read lips?" He signed. She nodded. "Good." His hands moved with fluid grace. "We need to talk. Somewhere private." Arya glanced toward the door. The pack house was full of guests, warriors, people who would notice if the Alpha's forgotten daughter was seen with the Blood Moon criminal. "Too dangerous," she signed back. His mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile on that scarred face, but close. "I know a place. Tonight. After the feast." "Why should I trust you?" This time he did smile, and it transformed his face from frightening to devastating. "Because you feel it too. The bond. And because I'm the only one who's ever really seen you, Arya Blackwood." Hearing, seeing, her name in sign language from him felt impossibly intimate. She nodded before she could talk herself out of it. "The old oak at the eastern border." "Midnight," he signed. Then he was gone, disappearing as silently as he'd arrived. Arya pressed her hand to her chest, feeling her heart race. She was really doing this. Meeting her mate in secret. A mate who was dangerous, scarred, banished. A mate who was absolutely forbidden. She couldn't wait. The feast was torture. Arya sat at the far end of the long table, her usual spot, so distant from her father that she might as well have been eating in another room. She could see everything though. Her father's false smiles. Darius's calculating looks. Serena's bored examination of Damien. Celeste flirting with Blood Moon warriors who ignored her. And Riker, seated separately at a small side table. Not quite part of either pack. Not quite welcome anywhere. He caught her eye once, and the heat of that look nearly made her drop her fork. After dinner, she slipped away. No one noticed, they never did. She changed into dark clothes, pulled on boots, and waited in her room until the pack house finally settled into sleep. Midnight couldn't come fast enough. The old oak was ancient, its roots breaking through the earth like gnarled fingers. Arya arrived first, nervous energy making her pace. The mate bond pulled tight, urging her forward. Then he was there. Moving out of shadows like he was made of them. In the moonlight, his scars looked like war paint. Beautiful and terrible. "You came," he signed. "You're my mate." Her hands shook slightly. "Of course I came. Something raw crossed his face. He moved closer, close enough that she could feel his heat, smell pine and smoke and something wild. Close enough to touch. I'm not a good man, Arya. I've done things. He stopped, jaw tight. Your father was right to keep you away from wolves like me. My father, she signed sharply, left pack members to die last night. He's hiding something. And you saved them. Riker's expression hardened. You saw that? She nodded. He was quiet for a long moment, then slowly reached out and touched her face. Just the lightest brush of scarred fingers against her cheek. The bond flared so hot she gasped. I learned sign language 5 years ago, he signed with his other hand. There was a deaf wolf in a pack we were negotiating with. Young. Scared. Being mistreated. I made sure she was protected, and she taught me to communicate. Why? Because everyone deserves to be heard. To be seen. His silver eyes burned into hers. I've spent my whole life being the monster everyone expected. But you're invisible when you should be everything. Her breath caught. What do you mean? Your wolf isn't broken, Arya. It's waiting. And when it comes, he pulled back slightly. Everything will change. How do you know? Because I can feel it. Through the bond. His hands moved urgently now. Your father knows what you are. That's why he keeps you hidden. Why he's never acknowledged you. Why he wants you to disappear. Fear spiked through her. What am I? Something rare. Something powerful. He hesitated. Something that could challenge his position. The world tilted. All these years, she'd thought her father was ashamed of her deafness, her inability to shift. But what if it was something else entirely? What if she was a threat? Tell me about your banishment, she signed. Pain flashed across his scarred face. I found out what my brother was planning. He wanted to take over smaller packs, kill their alphas, absorb their wolves. I tried to stop him. We fought. He won, barely, but instead of killing me, he scarred me with silver and banished me. Made me into a cautionary tale. Why are you here now? Because he commanded it. Because refusing would mean war. Because he likes reminding me that I'm his to control. Bitterness dripped from every movement. And because somehow, fate gave me a mate who makes all of this bearable. Arya's hands moved before her brain caught up. I don't know how to do this. I've never, no one has ever. He caught her hands gently, stopping the frantic signing. His touch was warm and solid and real. We'll figure it out together, he signed. But you need to be careful. Your father is dangerous. Start paying attention. Use your invisibility. See what he's hiding. She nodded. Then, because she couldn't help it, she stepped closer and pressed her palm against his chest. Feeling his heartbeat. Solid and steady and real. His hand covered hers. The mate bond sang between them, perfect and terrifying. I should go, she finally signed. Tomorrow night. Same place. She smiled, actually smiled, and saw his expression soften in response. Then she slipped back into the shadows, her heart full for the first time in years. Over the next week, Arya became a ghost with purpose. She used her invisibility to move through the pack house unnoticed, watching and listening and learning. She discovered her father met with certain pack members in private, always with locked doors. Discovered financial records that didn't match the pack's public accounting. Discovered that wolves who questioned Alpha Marcus had a tendency to disappear or suffer accidents. And every night, she met Riker at the Old Oak. They talked in sign language, sharing pieces of themselves. He told her about growing up fighting for approval from a father who only valued violence. She told him about her mother, the gentle woman who died when Arya was 8, in a fall that no one quite explained satisfactorily. I think my father killed her, she signed one night, the words she'd never dared admit finally coming free. Riker pulled her close, and she let herself lean against him. Feeling safe for the first time in forever. They didn't kiss, not yet. The tension was building, electric and magnetic, but both of them knew how dangerous this was. How forbidden. The Alpha's unwanted daughter and the banished criminal. If anyone found out. But someone did. Kai had been watching. She should have known. Her childhood friend who drifted away over the years, she'd thought it was because he'd outgrown her. Because he'd become the Beta's son while she remained invisible. But when he cornered her in the library, his eyes were filled with hurt and anger. "I learned sign language for you," he said, speaking aloud while signing. "I was the only one who tried. I hoped." "Kai," she signed. "I'm sorry." "Are you?" His hands shook. "Because I've loved you for years, Arya. Watched you. Waited for you to notice. And now he stopped, jaw tight. "With him? The Blood Moon criminal? Are you insane?" "He's my mate." Kai flinched like she'd struck him. No, you don't get to. There has to be a mistake. You deserve better than some scarred monster who's going to get you killed." "He sees me." Her hands moved firmly. "Really sees me. And I'm sorry I can't give you what you want, but this isn't negotiable. Riker is my mate. My choice." Something ugly twisted Kai's expression. Jealousy and rage and heartbreak all mixed together. "We'll see about that." He left before she could stop him. Arya's blood ran cold. She had to warn Riker. Had to. But she was too late. That night, when she arrived at the Old Oak, Riker wasn't alone. Silver chains bound him to the tree, the metal burning his skin. Pack warriors surrounded him, Silverwood and Blood Moon both, united in their disgust. And her father stood at the center, cold satisfaction on his face. "Did you think I wouldn't notice?" Marcus said, not bothering to sign. He never did. "My defective daughter sneaking around with Blood Moon trash." Kai did the pack a service by reporting this. Arya saw Kai in the crowd, looking sick but standing firm. Riker's silver eyes found hers. "Run," he signed desperately. But she couldn't. Wouldn't. "You've been corrupting her," Marcus continued. "Filling her head with ideas. Making her think she matters. But we both know the truth, don't we, Arya? You're broken. Worthless. An embarrassment I've tolerated out of mercy." Each word was designed to wound. And they did. But underneath the pain, something else was building. Heat. Rage. Power. "Take him to the cells," Marcus ordered. "We'll decide his punishment after the alliance is finalized." The warriors moved forward. Riker struggled against the chains, silver burning through his skin. The smell of his pain filled the air. And something inside Arya snapped. Her wolf, silent for so long, roared to life. Not broken. Not weak. Ancient and powerful and done being caged. The shift hit her like lightning. Pain and transformation and finally, freedom. She heard gasps. Felt the ground shake as she landed on 4 massive paws. Through wolf eyes, the world was sharper. Clearer. She could see her father's face draining of color. Could see the warriors stepping back in fear. Because she was enormous. Twice the size of any normal wolf, her fur pure white and gleaming in the moonlight. Power radiated from her in waves. Alpha power. An alpha wolf. Just like her father. Maybe stronger. Marcus's secret. The real reason he'd kept her hidden. Not because she was broken, because she was a threat to his position. Arya's wolf snarled, and even the Blood Moon warriors flinched. She moved toward her father, rage burning in her veins. He'd spent 19 years making her feel worthless. Making her invisible. No more. But Riker's pain called to her. She could feel it through the bond, silver burning through his skin. She changed direction, moving toward him instead. "Stop her!" Marcus shouted. The warriors rushed forward. Arya's wolf moved with instincts she didn't know she had, tearing through them. Not killing, she didn't want blood, but disabling. Protecting what was hers. She reached Riker and closed her jaws on the silver chains. The metal burned her mouth, but she didn't care. She bit down hard, and the chains shattered. Riker shifted immediately, his massive black wolf matching her white one. Their eyes met, and the mate bond blazed between them like fire. Together, his wolf seemed to say. Together, hers agreed. They ran. Behind them, Marcus's voice rose in fury. "Traitors! Rogues! Kill them both!" The pack warriors shifted and gave chase, but Arya and Riker were faster. Stronger. They moved through the forest like shadows, the mate bond guiding them as one. By dawn, they were far from Silverwood territory. Rogues now. Hunted by both packs. Arya's father had declared them enemies, her own pack wanted her dead. But as the sun rose and they shifted back to human form, Arya felt something she'd never experienced before. Freedom. She was enormous, powerful, finally able to shift. She had a mate who saw her. Who chose her. And she'd escaped the man who'd tried to cage her whole life. Riker pulled her close, and she signed against his chest. "What now?" His scarred hands moved gently. "Now we survive. Together. And when we're strong enough," his silver eyes hardened. "We make them pay for everything they've done." Arya nodded. She'd spent 19 years being invisible. Being nothing. Those days were over. The Alpha's forgotten daughter had finally woken up. And she was going to burn down everything that had tried to destroy her. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 3. The safe house was barely standing. An abandoned hunting cabin deep in neutral territory, its roof sagging, windows cracked, the smell of decay thick in the air. But it had 4 walls and a door that locked, and right now, that was everything. Arya sat on the floor, her back against the wall, still trembling from the shift back to human form. Her body ached in places she didn't know could ache. Her wolf prowled restlessly under her skin, unused to being caged again after finally being free. Riker moved through the cabin with efficiency, checking exits, securing the perimeter. He'd given her his jacket, the only thing between her and nakedness after the shift had destroyed her clothes. It smelled like him. Pine and smoke and safety. When he finally settled beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched, she felt some of the tension leave her body. "How do you feel?" He signed. Arya's hands shook as she responded. "Like my entire life was a lie. Like I don't know who I am anymore. You're an alpha." His hands moved with certainty. "That's what you are. That's what your father tried to hide." "But how?" She signed frantically. "Only heirs carry the alpha wolf. Only firstborns of alpha bloodlines. And my father. Maybe your father isn't the true alpha bloodline." Riker's scarred face was thoughtful. "Maybe your mother was." The words hit her like a physical blow. Her mother. Gentle, kind, dead for 11 years. Arya had been so young when she died, only 8 years old. The memories were fragmented. Her mother's smile. Her soft hands. The way she'd learned to sign just for Arya, never making her feel broken or less than. And then the fall. The terrible accident. The closed coffin funeral because the injuries had been too severe. "My father killed her," Arya signed, the realization settling into her bones like ice. "He killed her and took everything." Riker pulled her close, and she buried her face against his chest. He smelled like blood and silver burns, but underneath was that solid steadiness that kept her grounded. They stayed like that until exhaustion pulled Arya under. She woke to the sound of footsteps outside. Riker was already up, moving silently to the window. His body language screamed danger. Arya scrambled to her feet, her wolf surging forward. But Riker held up a hand, then signed, "Not hunters." Something else. The door opened, they hadn't heard it unlock, and 3 figures entered. 2 men and a woman, all carrying themselves like wolves but with something different in their eyes. Something careful and wary. The woman spoke first, her hands moving in sign language as she did. "We're not here to hurt you. We're packless. Like you. How did you find us?" Riker's voice was dangerous. "We've been watching the packs for years. Waiting for someone worth following." The woman's gaze fixed on Arya. "You're the White Wolf. The one who broke free." Arya's hands moved hesitantly. "Who are you?" "My name is Maven. These are Flint and Crow." She gestured to her companions. "We're part of a community, wolves who've been cast out, who refuse to bow to corrupt alphas, who survive in the spaces between territories. When word spread that an alpha wolf escaped Silverwood, we had to find you." "Word travels that fast?" Riker stepped protectively in front of Arya. "When something unprecedented happens?" "Yes." Maven's smile was sharp. "A white alpha wolf appearing out of nowhere? A Blackwood daughter who should have been powerless suddenly strong enough to shatter silver chains? That's the kind of story that spreads like wildfire." Flint, a massive man with kind eyes, added, "We have a place. Safe. Protected. 30 wolves living free. You'd be welcome there." Arya looked at Riker. He was studying the 3 packless wolves with the calculation of someone who'd learned to trust no one. But finally, he signed to her, "Your choice. Always your choice." The fact that he gave her that power, that he saw her as an equal when her own pack had seen her as nothing, made her decision easy. "We'll come," she signed to Maven. "For now." The community was hidden in a network of caves and makeshift structures deep in the mountains between territories. 30 wolves, Maven had said. Arya counted closer to 40. All of them packless. All of them with stories of betrayal, exile, or escape. They looked at her with something she'd never experienced before, respect. "The White Wolf," they whispered. Not with fear. With hope. It was terrifying. Maven gave them a small cave that had been converted into living space. Private. Defensible. Arya sank onto the makeshift bed, exhaustion pulling at her. Riker sat beside her, close enough to touch. They'd been running on adrenaline, but now reality was settling in. They were rogues. Hunted. Alone except for these packless wolves who expected something from her she didn't know how to give. "I don't know how to be an alpha," she signed, the fear finally breaking through. "Neither did I," Riker signed back. "But you'll learn. I'll teach you. You were supposed to be alpha?" His hands stilled. Then, slowly, he began to sign. "My father was Thaddeus Bloodmoon. Strong. Fair. A good alpha. Darius and I were both being trained to potentially lead. He was older, I was stronger. Our father hadn't chosen yet." Pain flickered across his scarred face. "Then one morning, I found him dead. They said heart attack. Natural causes. Darius became alpha immediately. But you didn't believe it. I smelled silver. Faint, but there. I started investigating. Found traces of poison. Witnesses who'd seen Darius in our father's chambers that night. I confronted him privately, told him to confess or I'd expose him." His hands shook now. Arya caught them, holding them steady. Giving him the same strength he'd given her. "He challenged me to a fight. Said if I won, he'd confess. If he won, I'd accept his rule." Riker's silver eyes were haunted. I was stronger. I should have won. But he'd prepared. Silver claws. Poisoned weapons. He tore me apart, Arya. Scarred me so badly I should have died. And when I was broken and bleeding, he told the pack I'd attacked him. That I'd tried to murder him to steal the Alpha position. He banished me, and everyone believed him. Why didn't you fight back? Tell the truth? I tried. Bitterness dripped from every movement. No one believed the younger brother over the Alpha. And the wolves who did believe me, who tried to speak up, they disappeared. Darius killed them quietly, and I had no proof. So I left. Became the monster everyone already thought I was. Arya pulled him close, and for the first time, she felt him shake. This strong, scarred man who'd saved her was breaking apart in her arms. I see you, she signed against his chest. I see the truth. And we'll make them all pay. He kissed her then. Finally. Desperately. Like she was air and he'd been drowning. The mate bond flared between them, hot and perfect and right. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, he signed, "You're my moon. The only light in all this darkness." She'd never been anyone's moon. Had never been anyone's anything. The words made her chest ache in the best way. Over the next 2 weeks, Riker trained her relentlessly. How to fight in wolf form. How to use her size and strength. How to command with alpha presence. How to protect the vulnerable parts of her throat and belly. The packless wolves watched, and slowly, they began treating her like a leader. Arya hated it. She'd spent 19 years invisible. Being seen, truly seen, was still terrifying. But Riker pushed her. You were born for this. Stop fighting it. At night, when they were alone in their cave, he'd sign poetry to her. Beautiful, heartbreaking verses about wolves and moons and finding home in another person. She'd never known he had this gentleness in him, hidden under all those scars. She was falling in love with him. Had probably already fallen. The realization should have scared her. Instead, it felt inevitable. Like the mate bond had just been confirming what her heart already knew. One night, after particularly brutal training, she lay with her head on his chest while he traced patterns on her shoulder. His fingers moved into sign language, and she smiled. What are you thinking about? He signed. My mother. She sat up slightly. I need to know the truth. About what happened to her. About what she really was. The Packless might have information. Some of them were Silverwood before. They found Maven in the main cavern, organizing supplies. When Arya explained what she needed, Maven's expression turned grim. Your mother. Elena Silverwood. She was born Elena Nightshade, one of the oldest Alpha bloodlines. Maven's hands moved as she spoke. When she married Marcus Blackwood, everyone thought it was a love match. But Marcus was a strong beta, not alpha-born. Your mother's wolf made him alpha by association. Arya's hands shook. So I inherited from her. Not him. Yes. And Marcus knew that eventually, you'd manifest an alpha wolf. He couldn't have that, couldn't have his firstborn daughter challenging his stolen position. So he hid you. Made you think you were broken. Kept you invisible. And when that wasn't enough? Maven's eyes were sad. I heard rumors. That Elena discovered Marcus was embezzling pack resources. That she threatened to challenge him. That she died very conveniently before she could act. Rage burned through Arya's veins. Her wolf snarled, pushing against her skin. He murdered her. Murdered my mother to keep power. Almost certainly. Riker's hand found hers. Steadying. Supporting. I'm going to destroy him, Arya signed. I'm going to take everything he stole. Good, Maven said simply. Because half the Packless here are former Silverwood. And they'd follow you in a heartbeat if you challenged Marcus. An army. The beginning of one, at least. 3 days later, Celeste arrived. Arya was training with Flint when she felt it, that familiar tug of pack bonds not quite severed. She turned, and there was her sister. Beautiful Celeste, looking smaller and more frightened than Arya had ever seen her. The packless wolves moved to attack, but Arya held up a hand. Wait. Celeste's eyes were red from crying. She signed as she spoke, clumsy, unpracticed, but trying. Arya. Please. I need to talk to you. Riker moved protectively to Arya's side. It could be a trap. It's not, Celeste insisted. I swear. I need you to know the truth. About everything. Against her better judgment, Arya nodded. They moved to a private corner, though Riker stayed close, watching. Talk, Arya signed. I'm so sorry. Tears spilled down Celeste's face. For everything. For ignoring you. For being so blind and selfish. I always thought, she stopped, hands shaking. I thought Father was protecting you. That your deafness made you fragile. I didn't realize he was caging you. And now you do? Damien told me. He knows the truth about Mother. About what you are. He's planning to overthrow Father, but he needs your help. Celeste grabbed Arya's hands. He wants you to come back. To challenge Father together. To take back what was stolen from our family. Arya's heart hammered. Damien knew. Her brother wanted to help. Why should I trust you? Because I love you. I always have. I was just too stupid and spoiled to show it. Celeste's tears fell faster. Please, Arya. Come home. We can fix this. Together. Something felt wrong. Arya looked at Riker, saw the suspicion in his eyes. Her wolf was growling, sensing danger. But Celeste was her sister. Her blood. I need time to think, she signed. Of course. I'll wait. Celeste smiled, tremulous and hopeful. I'm so glad you're okay. They let her stay the night. Set her up in a small cave. Watched her carefully. But not carefully enough. The attack came at dawn. Arya woke to the sounds of fighting, muffled, but unmistakable. She shifted immediately, her white wolf bursting free just as the cave entrance exploded inward. Pack warriors. Silverwood and Blood Moon both, working together for once. They poured in like a flood, silver weapons gleaming. Trap. Riker's black wolf was already moving, tearing into the attackers. The packless wolves fought back desperately, but they were outnumbered. Arya saw Flint go down, silver burning through his shoulder. Saw Maven fighting 3 warriors at once. Where was Celeste? She found her sister in the main cavern, surrounded by pack warriors. But they weren't attacking her. They were protecting her. Betrayal slammed into Arya like a physical blow. Celeste saw her, and horror crossed her face. No. No, this wasn't, Father said they'd just capture you. He said. Kill them all, Marcus's voice rang out. He stepped through the chaos, commanding and cold. Every packless wolf dies. And bring me my daughter's head. No. Celeste threw herself forward, trying to reach Arya. Father, stop. This isn't what you promised. You stupid girl. Marcus backhanded her casually. Celeste crashed to the ground. Did you really think I'd let her live? She's a threat. She's always been a threat. Celeste looked up at Arya, blood streaming from her mouth. I'm sorry, she signed clumsily. I'm so sorry. Then she shifted, a beautiful gray wolf, and launched herself at the warriors moving toward Arya. Celeste, no. Arya tried to reach her. But the warriors cut her sister down. Silver blades through her throat. Through her heart. Celeste's wolf fell, and she didn't get back up. Arya's scream was silent, but her rage was deafening. Her alpha wolf exploded forward with power that shook the cavern. She was massive and terrible and done being hunted. She tore through the warriors like they were paper. Protected the packless wolves with brutal efficiency. Moved toward her father with murder in her eyes. Marcus shifted, a large brown wolf, but nothing compared to her size. They clashed in the center of the cavern, and Arya felt satisfaction as her jaws closed around his throat. But then Darius was there, and more Blood Moon wolves, and suddenly they were overwhelmed. Riker's desperate howl cut through the chaos. Run. Arya didn't want to run. Wanted to finish this. But the packless wolves were dying, and she couldn't save them if she was dead. She released Marcus, felt bitter disappointment as he scrambled away, and ran. Riker was beside her immediately, his black wolf matching her white one stride for stride. Behind them, the packless wolves who could move followed. Ahead of them, the forest stretched dark and dangerous. They ran until they couldn't anymore. Until the sounds of pursuit faded. Until they collapsed in a ravine, bloodied and exhausted and grieving. 15 packless wolves had escaped. The rest were dead or captured. Arya shifted back to human form and wept. For Celeste. For the packless wolves who'd died protecting her. For the sister who'd finally seen her and died trying to save her. Riker held her while she broke apart. "I'm sorry," he signed against her skin. "I'm so sorry." When she had no tears left, Arya pulled back. Her hands moved with iron determination. No more running. No more hiding. Her eyes were hard. "We're going to war. Against 2 alphas? 2 entire packs." Riker's hands were skeptical. "We'd need an army. Then we'll build one." Arya's wolf prowled behind her eyes, ready for blood. "We'll find every packless wolf. Every wolf who's been hurt by corrupt alphas. Every wolf who wants justice. And we'll burn Silverwood and Blood Moon to the ground." Riker studied her face, then slowly smiled. That dangerous, beautiful smile that made him look less like a monster and more like a weapon. "My moon has teeth. My moon has claws," she corrected. "And I'm going to use them." Maven limped over, wounded but alive. "If you're declaring war, you need to understand what you're up against. Marcus and Darius have resources. Warriors. Weapons. They'll crush any rebellion before it starts. Then we don't give them time to crush us." Arya's hands moved with growing confidence. "We strike fast. We strike hard. And we make them pay for every life they've stolen." The surviving packless wolves gathered around her. Battered. Broken. But hopeful. They were looking at her like she was their alpha. Their leader. And maybe she was. Arya Blackwood had spent 19 years being invisible. Being nothing. Being the forgotten daughter. Those days were over. She had a mate who would burn the world for her. She had wolves willing to follow her into battle. And she had rage enough to fuel a war. Marcus and Darius had made the mistake of letting her live. Now they were going to learn what happened when you caged an alpha wolf and then set her free. She was coming for them. For her mother's justice. For Celeste's memory. For every wolf they'd hurt. And she wouldn't stop until both alphas were dead and their packs were free. The white wolf was done hiding. It was time to hunt. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 4. The War Room was a repurposed cave in the mountain network, its walls covered with maps and stolen intelligence. Arya stood at the center, studying the layout of both Silverwood and Blood Moon territories while Maven briefed her on their limited resources. 15 wolves, Maven said bluntly. Against 2 full packs totaling over 300 warriors combined. We need allies, and we need them fast. Arya's hands moved decisively. Then we find them. Every wolf who's been cast out. Every wolf who's suffered under corrupt alphas. We give them something Marcus and Darius never did, a choice. Riker entered, his scarred face grim. Word is spreading. About the White Wolf. About the attack on the Packless community. Some are intrigued. Others think we're suicidal. They're not wrong, Arya signed with a slight smile. There's something else. He handed her a burner phone, one of the few pieces of technology they'd managed to salvage. Message came through our secured line. Your brother wants to meet. Arya's hands stilled. Damien? He says he has information. Says he wants to help. Riker's silver eyes were hard. Could be a trap. Could be exactly what Celeste was, bait to draw you out. The mention of Celeste made Arya's chest tight. Her sister had died trying to protect her, manipulated by their father until the very end. The funeral had happened 3 days ago. Arya had watched from a distance, hidden in the treeline, as they'd buried Celeste with full pack honors. As if Marcus hadn't been the one who'd ordered her death. Set up the meeting, she signed. But carefully. And I want scouts everywhere. Maven nodded. I'll arrange it. Neutral ground. Maximum security. Over the next week, they worked tirelessly. Arya led scouting missions to find Packless wolves. There were more than she'd imagined, hidden in the spaces between territories. Some were angry, hardened by years of survival. Others were frightened, traumatized by the alphas who'd cast them out. All of them were wary. But when they saw her, the White Wolf, massive and powerful, something shifted. Hope bloomed in their eyes. I was exiled because I questioned Alpha Marcus's handling of pack funds, one wolf said, an older man named Garrett. He called me a traitor and stripped my rank. I refused to participate in Darius's raid on a smaller pack, a young woman named Iris added. He scarred me and threw me out. She pulled aside her collar, revealing silver burns similar to Riker's. Story after story. Wolf after wolf. All of them broken by the very alphas who should have protected them. Arya listened to each one. Really listened. And when she spoke, when her hands moved in sign language that Maven or Riker translated, she made them a promise. No more hiding. No more fear. We fight together, and we take back what was stolen. By the end of the week, their numbers had grown to 43. Not an army yet, but a beginning. The meeting with Damien was set for midnight in an abandoned warehouse on the border between territories. Arya approached with Riker at her side and Maven leading a team of scouts positioned throughout the area. Her brother stood in the center of the empty space, alone. He looked different than she remembered, harder, older, with shadows under his eyes that spoke of sleepless nights. When he saw her, something raw crossed his face. Arya. He didn't sign, he'd never learned, but he spoke slowly enough that she could read his lips. Thank God you're alive. She didn't move closer. Why are you here? Riker translated, his voice cold and dangerous. Because father is a monster, and I can't. Damien's jaw tightened. Celeste died because of him. Our mother died because of him. And I've been complicit in his corruption for too long. Why should I believe you? Because I brought proof. He pulled out a flash drive. Financial records. Communications with Darius. Evidence of every crime they've committed for the past decade. Murder. Embezzlement. Conspiracy. It's all here. Arya's hands moved sharply. You had this and did nothing? I was afraid. The words burst out of Damien, raw and honest. I was afraid of him. Afraid of what he'd do if I spoke up. I watched him kill Celeste, Arya. My baby sister died because I wasn't strong enough to stop him. He sank to his knees, and Arya was shocked to see tears streaming down his face. I should have protected you. Both of you. Instead, I let him make me into his perfect heir while you suffered. He looked up at her, eyes red. But I can help you now. I know his defenses. His strategies. His weaknesses. And I want him to pay for everything he's done. Arya studied her brother. The bond between them was faint, damaged by years of neglect, but it was still there. She could feel his genuine grief, his shame, his desperate need for redemption. What are you proposing? An alliance. You have the Packless Wolves. I have connections within Silverwood, warriors who are loyal to me, not father. Together, we could challenge him. Take back the pack. And then what? You become alpha and I disappear again? No. Damien's voice was firm. You're the true alpha. Mother's bloodline. You deserve to lead. I'll support you, but only if you want the position. If not, he swallowed hard. Then we can figure something else out. A co-leadership. A council. Whatever you want. Riker's hand found Arya's, supportive but letting her make the choice. She appreciated that he never tried to decide for her. I need time to verify this information. And I need your warriors to prove their loyalty before I trust them. Fair. Damien stood slowly. But Arya, you need to move fast. Father and Darius are planning something big. The alliance ceremony is in 2 weeks. Whatever they're scheming, it's happening then. What kind of something? I don't know. But they've been meeting with a witch. Someone powerful. And they've been talking about permanent solutions to their rivals. His eyes were haunted. I think they're planning to kill everyone who could challenge them. Including you, me, and Riker. Arya's wolf snarled. She'd expected assassination attempts, but a witch? That added complications they weren't prepared for. We'll be in touch, she signed. Don't contact us again. We'll contact you. Damien nodded and left without another word. When he was gone, Maven emerged from the shadows. I had wolves tracking him the entire time. He came alone, no tail, no backup. The flash drive could still be corrupted or fake, but he seemed genuine, Riker finished. He looked at Arya. Your call. She thought about Celeste. About her mother. About 19 years of being invisible while Damien was groomed for leadership. But she also thought about the pain in his eyes. The genuine grief. The way he'd knelt before her like she was already his alpha. We verify the information. If it's real, we consider his offer. But carefully. They took the flash drive back to their cave network. Flint, who'd worked in tech before his exile, spent hours analyzing it. When he finally looked up, his expression was grim. It's real. All of it. Financial crimes going back 15 years. Communications between Marcus and Darius showing they'd been working together for decades. The alliance marriage was never about peace, it was about consolidating power. They're planning to merge the packs under joint leadership and eliminate anyone who could threaten them. Including their own children, Maven added, reading over his shoulder. There's a contingency plan here for dealing with problematic heirs. Damien and Serena are both marked for elimination after the ceremony. Arya's hands shook with rage. They're going to kill everyone. Take absolute control. There's more. Flint pulled up another file. Messages with someone called the Weaver. A witch. They're paying her to create something called a severance spell. It strips a wolf's connection to their animal permanently. Riker went very still. That's dark magic. Forbidden. It requires a sacrifice of true blood, Flint confirmed. Someone from the target's direct bloodline. And according to these messages, they're planning to use Damien to strip Arya's alpha wolf during the ceremony. The cave went silent. Arya felt sick. Her father would murder his own son, her brother, just to take away her power? We have to save him, she signed. Whatever Damien's done, he doesn't deserve that. Agreed. Riker's voice was dark. But this changes everything. We're not just fighting two alphas anymore. We're fighting dark magic. Maven crossed her arms. Then we need our own witch. Someone who can counter the spell. I might know someone, a new voice said. They all turned. Kai stood at the cave entrance, looking thinner and haunted. His hands moved in sign language as he spoke. I know I'm the last person you want to see. I know I betrayed you. But I can help. Aria's wolf growled. The betrayal was still raw, still painful. But she forced herself to remain calm. Why are you here? Because I was wrong. Because I let jealousy blind me to what Marcus really is. Kai's hands shook. After you escaped, he killed 3 wolves who tried to help you. Just executed them in front of the pack. I realized, he stopped, swallowing hard. I realized I'd helped a monster. And I can't live with that. How can you help? My mother's sister is a witch. Not powerful like the Weaver, but skilled. She owes me a favor. And she hates Marcus. He had her banished years ago for refusing to curse a rival. It was too convenient. Too perfect. Arya looked at Riker, saw the same suspicion in his eyes. But they needed a witch. And they needed one fast. If you're lying, if this is another trap, then kill me. Kai's eyes were steady. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know I destroyed your trust. But let me earn it back. Please. Arya studied him for a long moment. The boy who'd learned sign language for her. The friend who'd drifted away. The man who'd betrayed her out of jealousy and pain. Finally, she signed, you can stay. You can help. But trust is earned, not given. Betray us again, and there won't be a third chance. Relief flooded Kai's face. Thank you. I swear, I won't let you down. Maven stepped forward. I'll keep an eye on him. If he makes one wrong move. Understood. Kai nodded quickly. Over the next week, their preparation intensified. Kai's aunt, a witch named Morrigan, arrived and began working on counterspells. More packless wolves joined their cause, swelling their numbers to nearly 70. Damien sent intelligence through encrypted channels, detailing guard rotations and ceremony layouts. And through it all, Arya trained. Riker pushed her relentlessly, teaching her not just how to fight but how to lead. How to inspire. How to make the hard decisions that would keep her wolves alive. Being an alpha isn't about being the strongest, he signed one night after a particularly brutal training session. It's about being the one willing to bear the weight of everyone else's survival. Is that what you were? Before the banishment? His scarred face was thoughtful. I tried to be. But I was young. Arrogant. I thought strength was enough. Darius taught me otherwise. You're not arrogant now. No. His silver eyes found hers. Now I'm just scarred and cynical and absolutely devoted to a woman who's braver than I ever was. The words made her chest tight. They'd been dancing around the mate bond for weeks, letting it build, letting the connection deepen, but they hadn't completed it. Hadn't made it permanent. She reached out, touching the worst of his scars, the one that ran from temple to jaw. I want to complete the bond. Riker went very still. Are you sure? Once it's done, we're connected forever. Literally. If one of us dies, then we die together. Her hands moved firmly. I'm not afraid of that. You should be. I've done terrible things, Arya. Killed people. Hurt people. My hands are covered in blood. So are mine now. She signed gently. We're both broken, Riker. But maybe that means we fit together perfectly. Something raw and vulnerable crossed his face. He pulled her close, and she felt his heartbeat against her cheek. That night, under the full moon, they completed the mate bond. It wasn't the formal pack ceremony, they didn't have a traditional pack. But Maven performed the ritual, and 70 packless wolves witnessed as Arya and Riker bound themselves together forever. When it was done, when the bond snapped fully into place, Arya felt him in every cell of her body. His strength. His pain. His absolutely unwavering devotion. They shifted together, White Wolf and Black Wolf, and ran through the mountains until dawn. Later, when they'd shifted back and lay tangled together in their cave, Riker signed against her skin. My greatest crime wasn't standing against my brother. It was believing I wasn't worthy of being loved. Arya kissed his scarred knuckles. You taught me I was never invisible. I was just surrounded by the blind. I love you, he signed. My moon. My mate. My alpha. I love you too. She pressed closer. My shadow. My mate. My home. For one perfect moment, everything else faded away. The war. The danger. The impossible odds. There was only them. Finally complete. The morning before the alliance ceremony, Morrigan called an emergency meeting. The Weaver spell is worse than we thought. The witch's face was grim. It doesn't just strip the alpha wolf. It kills it. Permanently. And the death of something that powerful, she stopped. It could kill Arya too. Silence fell over the cave. There's no counterspell? Maven demanded. Not one I know. The only way to stop it is to prevent the sacrifice. If Damien isn't killed during the ceremony, the spell can't be cast. Arya's hands moved quickly. Then we rescue him. Stop the ceremony before it starts. That means attacking both packs simultaneously, Riker said. We'd be outnumbered 4-1. Then we'd better be 4 times as clever. They spent the rest of the day planning. Damien sent detailed schematics of the ceremony location, a grand pavilion on the border between territories. He'd also identified 12 Silverwood warriors loyal to him who would turn on Marcus during the attack. It wasn't much. But it was something. The night before the assault, Arya couldn't sleep. She stood at the cave entrance, looking out at the mountains, feeling the weight of 70 wolves depending on her to lead them into battle. Riker found her there. Having doubts? Wondering if I'm any better than my father. He manipulated wolves for power. Am I doing the same thing? No. His hands moved firmly. You're giving wolves a choice. Freedom. Hope. That's the difference between a leader and a tyrant. She leaned into him, drawing strength from the mate bond. If we fail tomorrow. We won't. But if we do. Then we fail together. He turned her to face him. But we're not going to fail. Because you're the strongest person I've ever known. And those wolves out there? They believe in you. Not because you forced them to. Because you gave them something worth believing in. Arya kissed him, pouring everything she couldn't say into the touch. When they broke apart, she signed, "Let's go save my brother and kill some corrupt alphas." His answering smile was fierce and beautiful. That's my girl. The attack came at dawn. They hit fast and hard, splitting into 3 teams. Maven led a group to secure the perimeter and cut off escape routes. Kai, proving his loyalty, led a distraction force to draw away the main guards. And Arya, with Riker at her side, headed straight for the pavilion where the ceremony was being held. They shifted as they ran, White Wolf and Black Wolf moving as one. Behind them, their packless army followed, smaller in number but absolutely committed. The ceremony had already started. Arya saw Damien at the altar, looking pale and resigned. Saw Serena beside him, equally miserable. Saw Marcus and Darius standing together, radiating smug satisfaction. And behind them, hidden in shadows, was a woman in dark robes. The Weaver. Arya's wolf howled, a sound that shook the very air. Every head turned. For one frozen moment, the white alpha wolf stood at the edge of the pavilion, massive and terrible and ready for war. Then chaos exploded. Damien's loyal warriors turned on Marcus's guards. The Packless army crashed into the Blood Moon forces. Arya launched herself at the altar, determined to reach her brother before the spell could be cast. The Weaver raised her hands, dark magic swirling. But then Morrigan was there, countering with her own power. The two witches clashed in a battle of light and shadow. Arya reached Damien and shifted, cutting through his bonds with savage efficiency. Run! But Marcus was there, his brown wolf slamming into her. They rolled, teeth and claws tearing. Arya felt blood, hers and his, painting the ground red. Riker's black wolf appeared, ripping Marcus away. Father and daughter's mate fought viciously, and Arya felt Riker's rage through the bond. Darius joined the fight, and suddenly it was 2 alphas against 1. Riker was strong, but he was outnumbered. Arya launched herself back into the fray. White and black wolves fighting together, protecting each other, moving with the perfect synchronization of a completed mate bond. They were winning. She could feel it. The Packless army was pushing back the Pack warriors. Damien was free. The spell had been interrupted. Then the Weaver screamed. Arya turned just in time to see Morrigan fall, dark magic piercing through her chest. The witch crumpled, and the Weaver raised her hands again, this time targeting Arya directly. No! Kai threw himself in front of the spell. The dark magic hit him full force. Kai's body convulsed once, twice, then went still. In that moment of distraction, Marcus and Darius ran. Just ran. Abandoning their packs, their ceremony, everything. Cowards fleeing into the forest. Arya wanted to chase them. Wanted to finish this. But Kai was dying, and her wolves were injured, and a scream cut through the chaos. Not from the battle. From the cave network. Arya's blood ran cold. Someone was attacking their home base. She howled orders, retreat, regroup, protect the wounded, and ran. Riker was beside her immediately, both of them racing back to the caves. They found devastation. The caves had been ransacked. Supplies destroyed. And in the center of the main cavern, Maven was on her knees, silver chains binding her. And standing over her was Marcus, holding a knife to her throat. Did you really think I wouldn't have a contingency plan? His voice was cold. Surrender now, or the old woman dies. Old woman? Arya looked closer at Maven. Really looked. And suddenly she saw it, the shape of her face, the color of her eyes. Features Arya recognized from old photographs of her mother. Maven wasn't just a Packless leader. She was Arya's grandmother. Her mother's mother. Hidden in plain sight all along. Marcus's smile was vicious. That's right. Elena's mother. The last of the Nightshade bloodline besides you. Quite the hostage, don't you think? Arya's world tilted. Her grandmother. Alive. Right here. And now held captive by the man who'd murdered her daughter. Riker's hand found hers, steadying. Supporting. But even through the bond, she could feel his rage matching her own. What do you want? She signed, though she already knew the answer. You. Powerless and broken. In exchange for her life. Marcus pressed the knife closer, drawing blood. Choose quickly, daughter. My patience is limited. Around them, Pack warriors emerged from hiding. Marcus had planned this perfectly, drawn them away from their base, then attacked while they were vulnerable. Arya looked at her grandmother. At Maven, strong, brave Maven who'd given her hope when she had none. Who'd led the Packless wolves. Who'd fought beside her. Who'd been protecting her all along. Maven's eyes met hers. And slowly, deliberately, she signed, "Don't you dare surrender. Fight." The choice crystallized instantly. Marcus thought he could control her by taking hostages. By making her afraid. He'd never understood that Arya Blackwood was done being afraid. Her hands moved with absolute certainty. No deal. You want her? You'll have to go through me. And then she shifted. The white alpha wolf emerged with power that shook the very mountains. And behind her, 70 packless wolves howled their support. This wasn't over. The war had just begun. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 5. The white alpha wolf stood between Marcus and her grandmother, massive and immovable. Behind her, 70 packless wolves spread out in formation, smaller in number than Marcus's forces, but absolutely unified in purpose. Marcus's smile was cruel as he pressed the silver blade closer to Maven's throat. Still playing hero? You can't win this, Arya. Stand down, or she dies. But Maven's eyes were fierce. Even with silver burning her skin, even with death a heartbeat away, she signed with her free hand, "He's afraid of you. He's always been afraid." Marcus's expression twisted. "Shut up, old woman." Arya's wolf prowled forward one careful step. Through the bond, she felt Riker moving into position, flanking left. Felt Damien rallying the loyal Silverwood warriors. Felt the pack consciousness spreading through her wolves like wildfire. She shifted back to human form, naked and vulnerable, but strong. Her hands moved with absolute authority. "Let her go, and I'll give you what you really want." A formal challenge. Alpha to alpha. The words rippled through both packs. A formal challenge was sacred law, ancient and binding. One alpha against another, fighting for the right to lead. And it always ended the same way. One alpha survived. The other died. Marcus's eyes gleamed with vicious satisfaction. "You're challenging me? A girl who couldn't even shift until a month ago. I'm challenging you because you murdered my mother. Because you've been poisoning my grandmother for years. Because you're a coward who stole power instead of earning it." Gasps rippled through the Silverwood wolves. Maven's eyes widened in shock, not at the accusation, but at the confirmation that Arya knew. "Lies," Marcus snarled. But his hands shook slightly on the blade. "Truth." Arya's hands were steady. "And everyone here knows it. Why else would you keep the former alpha, your predecessor, hidden away for 19 years? Why else would you fear your own daughter?" She turned to address the assembled packs, her hands moving clearly so everyone could see. "Maven isn't just a packless leader. She's Maven Nightshade. The alpha before Marcus. My grandmother. And he's been keeping her weak with poison so she couldn't challenge his stolen authority." The revelation hit like an earthquake. Wolves began murmuring, looking at Maven with new understanding. The strong, scarred woman who'd led the packless wasn't a rogue, she was royalty in exile. She stepped down willingly. Marcus shouted. "Ask her." Maven spat blood, then signed with fierce precision, "I stepped down because you threatened to kill my pregnant daughter if I didn't. Because you promised to protect Elena and her children. Because I was a fool who believed you had honor." Her hands shook with rage. "But you murdered Elena anyway. And you tried to destroy Arya. You broke every promise. And now," she smiled, sharp and dangerous. "Now my granddaughter is going to tear you apart." Marcus's face went purple with fury. "Fine. I accept your challenge, you defective little." "The challenge begins at moonrise," Arya interrupted. "Neutral ground. Pack law dictates you must release all hostages until the challenge is complete." She was gambling that he'd follow tradition. That his pride and his need to appear legitimate would force him to play by the rules. Marcus's jaw worked. Then, slowly, he released Maven and stepped back. "Fine. Moonrise. And when I kill you, I'll make sure your mate watches." Riker's growl was audible even in human form. But Arya caught his hand, signing quickly, trust me. His silver eyes were anguished, but he nodded. They had 6 hours until moonrise. 6 hours to prepare for a fight that would end in death. Maven, once they'd gotten her somewhere safe and begun treating her wounds, pulled Arya aside. Her hands moved urgently. You don't have to do this. We can run. Rebuild somewhere else. I'm done running. Arya signed back. He killed my mother. He tried to kill you. He's destroyed countless lives. This ends tonight. He's vicious, Arya. Experienced. He'll fight dirty. Good. A fierce smile crossed her face. So will I. Morrigan's body had been recovered from the battlefield, and with it, her journals. Another witch, a younger woman named Briar who'd been Morrigan's apprentice, arrived to help decode them. The Weaver spell, Briar said, flipping through pages. It's still active. She cast it during the ceremony, but it needs a catalyst to complete. If Marcus can draw your blood during the challenge and speak the activation words, she stopped, face pale. Your wolf would be ripped from you mid-fight. It would be agonizing. Fatal. Can you counter it? Not completely. But I can create a redirection. Briar's expression was troubled. If someone willingly takes the curse in your place, offers themselves as a substitute. I'll do it. Everyone turned. Kai stood in the entrance, his face set with determination. Kai, no, Damien started. I owe her this. Kai's hands moved as he spoke. I betrayed her. Got wolves killed. This is how I make it right. The curse would strip your wolf permanently, Arya signed. You'd be human. Forever. I know. His eyes were steady. But you'd survive. You'd win. And maybe, his voice cracked slightly. Maybe I'd finally be worth something. Arya crossed to him, taking his hands. You're already worth something. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. He squeezed her fingers. Let me earn your forgiveness. Let me save you the way you saved everyone else. She studied him for a long moment. The boy who'd learned sign language for her. The friend who'd betrayed her. The man who was trying desperately to be better. Finally, she signed, if you're sure, thank you. Relief flooded his face. Briar began preparing the redirection spell, while Riker pulled Arya aside. His hands shook as he signed. I can't lose you. The mate bond, if you die, I die. Then I won't die. She touched his scarred face. We've come too far. Survived too much. I'm not letting him win. Let me fight in your place. Challenge Darius instead. We can. No. Her hands were firm. This is my fight. My family. My pack. I have to be the one. I know. He pulled her close, and she felt his heart racing against hers. But I'm terrified. So am I. She signed against his chest. But I have you. And that makes me stronger than he'll ever understand. They spent the remaining hours preparing. Damien briefed her on Marcus's fighting style, brutal, relentless, always going for the throat. Maven shared stories about Arya's mother, about her strength and courage and the way she'd fought until the very end. Elena knew what Marcus was planning, Maven signed, tears streaming down her weathered face. She tried to challenge him, tried to expose him. But he poisoned her first. Made it look like an accident. And her hands shook. I was already too weak from his slow poisoning to avenge her. I could barely shift. So I pretended to accept his story, let him think he'd broken me, and I disappeared. Built the Packless community. Waited for the day when I could help someone strong enough to finish what my daughter started. You helped me become that person, Arya signed. You gave me an army. A purpose. Hope. No. Maven smiled through her tears. You gave yourself those things. I just made sure you weren't alone. Moonrise came too quickly. The challenge ground was a clearing between territories, neutral, sacred, witnessed by both packs. Hundreds of wolves gathered, forming a massive circle. Silverwood on one side, Blood Moon on the other, packless scattered throughout. Marcus stood in the center, already shifted to his large gray wolf. He was scarred from decades of battles, muscular and powerful and radiating violent confidence. Arya approached from the opposite side, flanked by Riker and Maven. She wore simple clothes that would tear easily when she shifted. Her white hair was pulled back, her expression calm. She looked small compared to Marcus. Young. Fragile. Until you saw her eyes. They burned with absolute conviction. The challenge master, a neutral alpha from a distant pack, stepped forward. The challenge has been issued and accepted. Alpha Marcus Blackwood of Silverwood versus Arya Blackwood, Alpha born of the Nightshade line. This is a fight to the death. The victor claims leadership of Silverwood pack. Do both parties accept these terms? Marcus's wolf snarled agreement. Arya's hands moved clearly, I accept. Then let the challenge begin. Arya shifted. The white alpha wolf emerged like winter moonlight made flesh, massive, beautiful, terrifying. She was larger than Marcus by nearly a third, her fur gleaming pure white, her eyes burning with ancient power. The packs gasped. They'd heard stories, but seeing her in person was different. She didn't just look like an alpha. She looked like something primal. Elemental. Marcus hesitated for just a second. Then he attacked. He was fast. Faster than his size suggested. His jaws snapped at her throat, claws raking toward her belly. Arya dodged, using her size to her advantage. She wasn't as experienced, but she was stronger. They clashed in the center of the circle, white and gray wolves tearing at each other. Blood flew. The sound of snarling filled the air. Marcus fought dirty, just like Damien had warned. He went for her eyes, her legs, any vulnerable spot. He used his experience to predict her movements, to trap her against the circle's edge. But Arya had something he didn't. She had rage. 19 years of rage at being invisible, being dismissed, being told she was broken. And she channeled all of it into every bite, every strike. She caught his shoulder and tore, feeling satisfaction as he yelped. He retaliated by slamming her into the ground, his weight crushing her ribs. Through the bond, she felt Riker's terror. Felt him fighting the urge to intervene. I'm okay, she tried to send through the bond. Trust me. She twisted, using her powerful hind legs to kick Marcus off. They separated, circling each other. Both were bleeding now, both panting. Marcus shifted briefly to human form, against the rules, but he didn't care. You're weak, he snarled, signing viciously. Just like your mother. She begged, you know. Begged me not to kill her. Promised she'd be quiet, be obedient. Pathetic. Rage exploded in Arya's chest. She shifted too, her human form shaking with fury. My mother was brave. Strong. Everything you'll never be. Her hands moved with deadly precision. She fought you until the end. And now I'm going to finish what she started. You're broken. He was shouting now, losing control. Defective. A deaf girl who couldn't even shift. You think you can lead a pack? I was never broken. Arya's hands were absolutely steady. You were just too weak to see my strength. Too afraid to acknowledge that I was always more powerful than you. Something flickered in his eyes. Fear. She shifted back to wolf form and attacked. This time, she didn't hold back. She used every technique Riker had taught her, every instinct her wolf provided. She was fury and power and justice incarnate. Marcus tried to activate the spell. She saw him shift briefly, saw his mouth forming the words Briar had warned her about. But Kai was ready. The young man stepped forward from the crowd, and Briar's magic flared. The curse that should have hit Arya redirected, slamming into Kai instead. He screamed as his wolf was torn away. Fell to his knees, human and staying human. Wolfless forever. But Arya was still fighting. Still strong. Marcus's eyes widened in horror as he realized his final weapon had failed. He tried to run, actually tried to flee the challenge circle. Cowered until the end. Arya caught him before he made it 3 steps. Her jaws closed around his throat, and she felt his pulse racing against her teeth. 1 bite. That's all it would take. 1 bite and he'd be dead. The pack laws demanded it. A challenge to the death. Only one alpha could survive. But as she stood there, feeling his life in her jaws, feeling the weight of his crimes and his cruelty, she made a choice. She released him. Marcus collapsed, gasping. The packs erupted in confused murmurs. Arya shifted back to human form and signed clearly so everyone could see. I won't kill you. I won't become like you. Her hands moved with authority. Instead, I strip you of your rank. Your title. Your pack. You are rogue now. Packless. And you are banished from these territories forever. If you return, the sentence is death. Marcus looked up at her with hatred and disbelief. You can't, the laws. I'm alpha now. I make the laws. She turned to address the Silverwood wolves. Does anyone challenge my decision? Silence. Then, slowly, wolves began dropping to one knee. Submitting to her authority. Even warriors who'd fought for Marcus were bowing to the white alpha. Because she'd shown mercy. Because she'd proven she was stronger than her father in the ways that mattered. Maven knelt first, tears streaming down her face. My alpha. My granddaughter. Damien was next. My sister. My alpha. Finally. The entire pack followed. Silverwood recognizing its true leader. Marcus stumbled to his feet, looking around desperately for support. Finding none. He shifted, his wolf small and pathetic now without rank, and fled into the forest. Arya watched him go, feeling nothing but pity. He'd lost everything. And he'd done it to himself. A roar from the other side of the circle drew her attention. Darius and Riker were fighting. The Blood Moon Alpha and his banished brother, finally facing each other after years of hatred and betrayal. It was vicious and brutal, both of them scarred, both of them powerful. But Riker had something Darius didn't. He had purpose. And he had Arya. Through the mate bond, she fed him strength, supported him, loved him. Darius fought with cruelty. Riker fought with justice. The difference showed. Riker's black wolf caught Darius by the throat and slammed him down. The Blood Moon Alpha struggled, but his brother was relentless. And when Darius finally stopped fighting, finally submitted, Riker shifted. You killed our father, he signed, speaking simultaneously. You scarred me. Banished me. Murdered wolves who tried to tell the truth. I should kill you. Darius's eyes were wide with fear. But I'm not you. Riker's voice was cold. You're stripped of rank. Banished. If I ever see you again, I'll finish this. He released Darius, who scrambled away and fled, following Marcus into exile. The Blood Moon pack was silent. Then, one by one, they knelt. Accepting Riker as their alpha. The rightful leader they should have had all along. Damien stepped forward, signing as he spoke. Before witnesses from both packs, I have a confession. I've been working with Blood Moon warriors for months. Turning them against Darius. Building support for Riker's return. He smiled slightly. I learned from the best, how to play the long game, how to manipulate from the shadows. I just used it for the right reasons this time. Arya felt a surge of pride in her brother. He'd been playing both sides, positioning pieces, all to help her and Riker succeed. Riker crossed to Arya, and they stood together in the center of the circle. White Alpha and Black Alpha. Mate bonds complete. Two packs watching. We unite Silverwood and Blood Moon, Arya signed clearly. Not through domination. Through alliance. Through respect. Through love. Riker's hands moved with hers. Two packs. Two alphas. One bond. We lead together, and we protect all wolves, no matter their status, their ability, or their past. Cheers erupted. Both packs celebrating not just new leadership but a new way forward. The days that followed were chaotic but hopeful. Arya established new pack laws immediately. No wolf was defective. All forms of communication were honored. Power was earned through character, not cruelty. She made Damien her beta, her second in command, and the sibling relationship they should have had all along. He threw himself into the work, determined to help her succeed. Kai, though wolfless, became her most trusted advisor. He'd lost his wolf to save her, and that sacrifice gave him a purpose he'd never had before. He helped bridge the gap between human-born wolves and traditional pack members, proving that strength came in many forms. The packs began learning sign language together. Slowly at first, awkwardly, but with genuine effort. Arya held weekly lessons in the pack house, teaching signs for common phrases, for emotions, for connection. Wolves who'd ignored her for 19 years now approached her nervously, signing "Good morning" or "Thank you" with careful hands. It was imperfect. But it was progress. Maven took her place as elder, officially recognized as the former Alpha and Arya's grandmother. She advised on tradition while supporting Arya's innovations. The perfect balance of old and new. Riker split his time between territories, managing Blood Moon while maintaining the mate bond with Arya. They made it work: video calls, frequent visits, and the constant awareness of each other through their connection. Some nights, they'd run together. White Wolf and Black Wolf racing through the mountains, finally free. The Harvest Moon ceremony came 2 months after the challenges. Arya stood on the Alpha's rock, the same place her father had stood for 19 years. But everything was different now. The pack had changed. She had changed. Beside her, Riker waited in wolf form. Behind them, both packs gathered, Silverwood and Blood Moon united for the first time in history. Maven stood close by, healthy and strong now that the poison had left her system. Damien was coordinating the ceremony with quiet efficiency. Kai was helping younger wolves learn the ceremonial signs. Everything was ready. Arya shifted. The white alpha wolf stood on the highest point, moonlight making her fur glow like starlight. She was enormous. Powerful. Beautiful. She threw back her head and howled. No sound came out, her wolf was as silent as she was. But every wolf in both packs felt it. In their souls. In their bones. In the place where pack consciousness lived. It wasn't a sound. It was a feeling. Pure and powerful and absolutely commanding. The song of an alpha who had been invisible but was invisible no more. The song of a wolf who had been told she was broken but had proven she was whole. The song of a daughter who had lost everything and rebuilt it into something better. One by one, the wolves joined her. Throwing back their heads and howling, some with sound, some without, all of them united in the song. White wolves and gray wolves and black wolves and brown wolves, all singing together under the harvest moon. Riker's black wolf moved to stand beside her, and their howls, silent and thunderous, blended perfectly. 2 alphas. 2 packs. 1 family. Arya looked out at her wolves, at the pack she'd built from outcasts and rebels and forgotten souls. At her grandmother who'd waited 19 years for this moment. At her brother who'd finally found his way home. At her mate who saw her more clearly than anyone ever had. She'd spent her whole life being told she was defective. Broken. Less than. But standing here, surrounded by wolves who'd chosen to follow her, who'd learned her language, who'd fought beside her, she finally understood the truth. She had never been broken. She had simply been waiting to find her pack. The wolves who would see her. Really see her. And now that she had them, now that she'd claimed her place and her power and her voice, nothing would ever silence her again. The white alpha had risen. And she would never bow again. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also, to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.